What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Preach Wizards podcast. The Wizards suffered a 116 to 109 overtime loss. Let's talk about that. It's time to preach. All right, what's going on? I don't have much to play today as far as it comes on the piano, but there was one song I wanted to do quickly to describe the feeling of that game yesterday. And today I got to step off screen. That was brutal. And that's the funeral march of the Wizards suffering that overtime loss 116 to 109. I wanted to take a look at some of the box scores of this games and then later look forward and see, is there anything that we can notice about the Milwaukee Bucks game yesterday? So they're also playing a back-to-back, I believe. I actually will confirm that, but they just played the Philadelphia 76ers, lost by 3 points. So I think that they're really going to be fired up for this game as well. And I think the loss, it could be a source of motivation for the Wizards, but I think there's some important stats to take a look at. The first thing I wanted to talk about was, did we miss Denny's defense during the game? Denny had to leave. Actually, I started watching this one a little late, and then just rewatched it. But Denny had to leave. I actually don't know what time he did leave the game, but I know he wasn't there for at least the whole second half. He had like a little stomach virus or something, so wonder if he'll be back today. But maybe not likely if he's real sick, right? But do you think that Denny Avdia's defense was a factor in this loss, not having him late in the game to sort of lock down these defenders? Gary Trent Jr. seemed to be going off, and I wonder if we were able to put Denny Avdia on him, if life would have just been a little bit more difficult. He wouldn't make so much noise. Sometimes when the Lizards, I used to call them the Lizards whenever they would lose games because they don't get that W. Sometimes whenever the Wizards would lose games, though, it does seem very circumstantial. We missed that one piece, and injuries have been so tough this season, and just that one dynamic shift in our offense or defense, sometimes we can't seem to adjust. I'm not sure if that's a Wes Unseld problem or just a lineup problem where we need some help. So let's take a quick look here at this is the box score from the Raptors Wizards game yesterday. And I actually wanted to go back and also show you the box score from the game on March 2nd that we played. Okay, I'm on two different ones. The ESPN one's actually a little bit easier to navigate here. But the first thing I wanted to talk was about the turnovers. And that's just between the games. Check it out. So this is the game we just lost yesterday. The Toronto Raptors had 14 total turnovers. The Wizards 24. So, and if we go back to the other game that happened 2 days ago, Toronto Raptors 14 turnovers again, consistent. And the Wizards also 14 turnovers. Looking around some different games around the league, 14 seems to be isn't great, but it is somewhat of a consistent number that teams are floating around. So for either ones, we want it to be better than this, but the fact that we both had 14 turnovers, that's great. So we can automatically chalk up this loss really because of these turnovers. And I think it has to do with some of the hero ball offense that Kyle Kuzma can play and Bradley Beal can play. Because let's see who contributed to these turnovers for the Wizards last night. So taking a look, Kyle Kuzma had 4 turnovers in the most previous game. He had 5 this game, so matching it. Bradley Beal had 5. And then Kristaps Porzingis had 3. And let's see, DeLon Wright had 3. So these are the guys who have these turnovers are our main guys. So they are holding the ball a lot more. But I think in order for us to win, Beal, Porzingis, and Kuzma are going to have to combine for 10 or less turnovers a night, and that's being generous, right? We want even less than that. But right now, the numbers up to 13. So maybe more like 8 or less in a game, because they're going to lose the ball sometimes, especially historically. We know Beal leads that stat for his payroll that he's on, and players of his payroll caliber, Beal will be the highest turnover ratio. But this is something we're totally going to have to limit on the next game. Pretty obvious stat, but I just wanted to review it for the sake of seeing the numbers. But that right there is the big one that sticks out. And one thing I wanted to just take a look at was actually DeLon Wright's turnover numbers from game to game. So let's see, where's turnover stat category? Right here. And I want to say DeLon had none in this game. Yeah, so DeLon played 33 minutes, and he had 0 turnovers in our first game against Toronto. And then fast forward to this game, DeLon played 40 minutes, and I think that's just an average. It was actually about 39 and some change, and he averaged 3 turnovers. So it's about 6 extra minutes of playing time for DeLon and 3 turnovers. Do you think that the extra minutes were a factor in that the Wizards were turning over the ball, especially just DeLon Wright? Not exactly sure. DeLon seems to be one of our most consistent players, and this actually kind of pivots to the next question I had, which is, should DeLon Wright start over Monte Morris? And I think he should when Monte returns. We'll see. That'll be an interesting call, because him and Monte Morris and Wes Unseld have some history together back in Denver. And there's that thing around in every sports franchise, or every other type of sport too, football, hockey, and when someone's built up a name and has that recognition, it's pretty tough to change their role. Just talk like Wentz for the Commanders is a good example. Whenever he was hurt all that time, we just wouldn't give someone else the starting job even when he would come back, even though he didn't really have a lot to show for it. And I think that Monte Morris has done a great job sort of fitting into the starting point guard role. But I think DeLon Wright, the defense that he brings, when he's playing against some of these other starting players in these different franchises, I think he's going to be the guy that we need. Because Monte Morris was actually, his role in Denver was to come off the bench and provide a spark. And that's where we've been losing games a lot, is we don't have, when our bench comes out, we can't just rely on Corey Kispert or Denny Avdia to provide that punch. We traded Rui. So, man, wouldn't it be great if Monte could come up against some of these second units and just light it up? It's interesting that DeLon couldn't. But what was DeLon? Yeah, DeLon had 18 points last night, and he's been shooting really well from 3, 4 for 6. That was something I was pretty nervous for DeLon Wright about. He went into a little bit of a slump about 4 or 5 games ago. And 18 points last night, hit that huge 3-point. Was it to tie? I can't remember. I think it was to tie last night before we went into overtime. Bradley Beal with the assist. So, we're seeing excellent things from DeLon Wright. But really, I think in overtime, we're just playing too much iso ball and forcing our offense. And it's hard to tell if this is, again, a Wes Unseld problem, because Nick Nurse is a heck of a coach. And you wonder if going deep into the game like that, like, is this a team problem? Like, the players, were they ignoring Wes's calls and, taking the looks that they saw? Or is Wes, like, letting them sort of get into this free-form basketball? Because, again, that term hero ball, that is my only thing against Kyle Kuzma. I don't mind the volume that he tries to score in, but when he tries to win the game, you do it enough times, it's going to work. But, man, when it burns you, when Kyle Kuzma burns us, he burns us to the ground. Yeah, that's it, And there's just sometimes where he just chucks up the ball. I really think we can be patient and look for more opportunities. I wanted to pull up a highlight, but I had trouble getting some video set up today and just wanted to record the pod. But there was a moment last night where the game was within 2 or maybe within 4 points, and it was late in the fourth quarter, and beginning of our shot clock, we should have taken our time and tried to find something, and Kyle Kuzma just jacks up a 3. immediately off a screen. It was a bad shot, and he ended up doing it like 2 or 3 possessions in a row, maybe with one other possession in between there. But it's like we can't find a bucket, and when Kuzma does that late in the game and isn't lighting it up, it's just ugly, ugly, ugly basketball. So, I'm not sure if the extra minutes for DeLon were a factor in the turnovers, but let's pivot over to the Milwaukee Bucks for a moment. We're playing them tonight, and if we have 24 turnovers or anything close to that, that's an automatic L against the Bucks. But the interesting thing is we don't have a lack of scoring power, right? We still had all those turnovers and we're able to push this game to overtime. So if we can clean that up, we're playing good basketball. I wouldn't call the game against the Bucks this evening a winnable game, but it's an interesting game for the Wizards. I'm interested to see how they respond to a team like Milwaukee. Excuse the ad. So I'm just going to jump right over to the Bucks stats, and let's take a look at how and why they may have lost to these 76ers. No way. Are these the total point scores? Let's see. This is you guys, I'm actually going to try to find another. March 4th, 2023. There we go. Wasn't digging that CBS one there. Okay, so Embiid had a 31-point game. James Harden had a 38-point game. Maxey with a 26-point game. Antetokounmpo had 34. Brook Lopez lighting it up, 26, and Drew Holiday, 26 as well. I might as well just look at the turnover numbers, you guys. Wow. So one number that really jumps out is the 76ers only 5 turnovers, the Bucks 13. So we're just focusing on those turnover numbers. Look how the 76ers got a win, a lack of turnovers. So if the Wizards can make that their focus, and really they should just moving forward. I'm a pretty big believer in when we're doing problem solving, not to try and fix everything all at once. It usually, if you're giving feedback to a person in management, you don't want to give them the 10 things that you maybe want them to fix all at once, right? Because then they're going to fix nothing. I think the same is true for the Wizards. Let's focus on one skill at a time that we need to clean up. Our defense has been looking somewhat solid, overall. So we don't need to panic about that right now. In our offense, we aren't on these can't buy a bucket stages for the Wizards anymore. So I think going into the game for the Bucks tonight, we just got to go in there and try and limit turnovers. And that seems to be part of a recipe. Now we're going to need to light it up in scoring between Kuzma, Beal, and Porzingis. Last thing I think I'll look at is what the Milwaukee Bucks, see if they have any injuries out there. Milwaukee Bucks injury report. So it says, Chris Middleton out, and then Wesley Matthews is also out. And then Dragic is out, it says as well. He signed a contract with the Bucks on Saturday, but he's out for tonight's game. So that's 3 players. Let's look at the Washington Wizards injuries. All right, Wizards injuries going into tonight's game. Denny Avdija is listed as day-to-day. Kyle Kuzma ruled out for Sunday's game against the Bucks, and Monte Morris is considered week-to-week still out. So no Morris, no Kuzma, and Avdija day-to-day. We're not going to have that Kuzma scoring factor. I think late in the game he's been huge in some of these wins. So I think if we need to score the ball in the fourth quarter, we're going to need somebody to step up. We need Kispert to have another perfect game like last night. But this one, looking forward to that Milwaukee Bucks games, it is going to be a rough one, y'all. And that's going to do it for today. Praise the Wizards. Peace.